What's up everyone, this is Emilio with Quick Property Solutions, and in this video we are going to be talking about where to go on your first trip to Detroit. You did the research, you looked online, you ran the numbers, you're looking at the houses, you're doing your due diligence, and now you're ready to come over here and check out the market. And hopefully this video will help you out on your first trip here. So as you can tell in this video, I'm not in my car, I'm not in a house, I'm not walking the streets, I'm actually in my office. So this is really weird for me. I actually got like a microphone here. I'm using the whiteboard. It's really weird. So hopefully you like this video. Again, if you like the video, comment below. Let me know what you like about it. Let me know some ideas. Matter of fact, this video I want to thank one of my viewers, Daniel, for actually we were talking on the phone, talking about the market, and this was the video that came, this video idea came from our conversation. So thank you very much, Daniel, I really appreciate it. And in this video we're going to be covering a little bit of tips here and there, but what I want to start off with is the basic area in the market of Detroit. This video specifically, we're just going to be talking about the city of Detroit that's in Wayne County. And we're going to start by drawing the borders. Okay, this is very rudimentary of the outline of Detroit, but what I want to first start off with is the difference between east side and west side. That's probably tip number one. East side and west side. And a lot of times when you be looking at houses, people are going to say, hey, I got a house over here, it's on the west side, it's on the east side, and here is how you can tell. So let's start off with this. Detroit. This is downtown Detroit right here. So, I just wrote on there. It's fine. So downtown Detroit, and there is a road that goes all the way from downtown Detroit, and it goes all the way to Pontiac, and it travels for miles. But what happens is Detroit cuts off right at 8 Mile here. So from Woodward to 8 Mile, this is where Detroit ends, and now this is Oakland County. Oakland County. So this is like the Metro Detroit area, the suburbs pretty much. So 8 Mile is the cutoff period, and Woodward is the main road that goes right up Detroit. So on this side, this is the west side, and this is the east side. So that's how you determine between the west side and east side. Whatever's on this side of Woodward, west, whatever's on that side, east. So that's tip number one. Now, tip number two. Zip code by zip code, block by block, and street by street. So in another previous video that I had, I talked about my 5 top zip codes in the city, and also some different zip codes that are up and coming. So what's going to happen is people are going to say, hey, I want this part of this zip code. So like in this area here, all these are going to be different zip codes, right? So let's start with a popular one that everybody likes, and that's 48221. So 48221 is probably one of the most popular zip codes that I could think of. That one, the 48221 down here, obviously this is a very rudimentary design, but 48224, which is East English Village in Morningside. You could be over here by 48214. This is 48234. I mean, it's all broken up. And again, this is all different. This is Midtown, which is 48201. This is New Center, 48202. And I know some people out there right now that are in the Detroit market be like, dude, you're messing this up. But it's again very rudimentary, so sorry about that. And then let's say over here is LaSalle Gardens, which is 48206. So LaSalle Gardens, it's in the general area. Okay, so anyways, for this example only, 48221. So everybody says, I want to go to 48221. That's where I want to go. That's where everyone's going. They want to go to Bagley, right? So what's going to happen is you're going to go to the zip code, and you're going to go in a certain area. Now, there are parts of this area in 48221 that are actually like blocks. So what you'll notice is when you start driving in these areas, you're gonna notice this little area, and this area is like super hot. So you're going down like Livernois, and you're gonna be between like Outer Drive and 7 Mile Road, and all these houses are like super awesome, right? And then you're gonna be driving further down, and you're gonna cross over a street called like Puritan, and then you're gonna drive in this area. And then this area is an area that is actually not as developed as up here in Bagley. This is going to be like the Fitzgerald area. Now, however, this is where the houses aren't as developed. There's a lot more ugly houses, but that just means that you're buying them lower and they're coming back up. But the thing is, again, that area is not as developed as it is over here. So you're in the right zip code, but then you got to go block by block. However, you can also drive street by street, because the one thing about Detroit is that you could drive down one street and the houses are like banging. They're like super nice. Everything is rehabbed. There's flowers on the landscaping's nice. The lawn's edged. And then you go to the next street over and 60% of the street is completely abandoned. Now that could be maybe not from the neighborhood or the communities. It could actually be from the people that own the properties. They could be investors that bought them. Maybe they bought like 20 at a time and they're not fixing them up. Or maybe they're boarded up and it looks like they're vacant, but when they're boarded up, they actually might be rehabbing them at that time. So that's one thing to think about, and that's tip number 2. And that actually makes me think about an extra tip number 3. Tip number 3, community and neighbors are just as important as the houses in the city. So when you are driving around and all you're looking at is the pretty houses, well, the one thing you should probably do is try and talk with people. Like I have no problem when I'm driving around. If I see people walking down the street, I drive up to them and I ask them about the neighborhood. Hey, how long have you lived here? Do you like the area? Do you see what are your problems? And guess what? People will have no problem telling you what they think of the neighborhood. If it's good or bad, they'll give you kind of like a breakdown, or even maybe go to some local businesses. If you're in Detroit, visit the local businesses, walk the streets, go to the neighborhoods and talk to the people. That's where you're really going to find the strength in the community, because that's what's really, really important. Because we would be in some neighborhoods where I would go and I'd walk a house and I'd get the lockbox and I'd walk in and the neighbors would come up to me and ask me like, hey, what's your name? Like, what are you doing here? And then I'll be like, hey, I'm just looking at the house and they're trying to sell it. We want to rehab it. They're like, oh, okay, well, we all on this block look out for this house. Like, that's actually a really good sign. Where other neighborhoods where we would rehab them literally would walk up, furnace is gone, water heater's gone, they stole the doors, they stole the cabinets, and the neighbor next door is like, they open up the window like, they took everything, sorry, and then they close the window and then that's it. So not the strongest neighborhood. So that's tip number 3, focus on the community as well as the houses. So sticking to my basic rudimentary map here, most people will be staying in the downtown area. So what I would suggest is, I have a few zip codes that when I've given tours to some people before, and they want to see the market, so I take them for a drive. So this is what I do. I start off, most of them stay downtown. I think they're at the Crown or they're staying somewhere, or the Marriott downtown. So what I do is I start downtown and I like to drive up Woodward. So you want to go up Woodward because you could see the downtown area, and you know what, it's cool for the tourists, and it's like really, you could see like how the development's going on. That's where the commercial developments are. You can see the activity and the people coming into the city. It's super exciting. But the one thing to remember is, like, when you're driving up, I like to go through Midtown, and I drive people through Midtown because people are like, man, look at these, there's shops here, there's people here, and I try and tell them, like, 6 years ago it didn't look like this. It looked like, I tell people, I was like, I want you to remember what it looks like, and I'm gonna drive you to some areas in the city where they're the up and coming areas, and you're gonna see it and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this place looks terrible. I was trying to tell them, remember what you saw in Midtown? That's how it looked like 6 years ago. So what I would do is I would drive up Woodward. This is like your center point. Hit Midtown, drive through this area, and then you could go back onto Woodward, drive up a little more, and what's happening is Midtown, really for investment purposes, there's really no I mean, you could find a deal maybe, but it's such a small section of the city, and it's already developed, and everyone knows about it. So if you can find a really good deal, then by all means, that's awesome. You can find a good deal. But for the most part, what people are starting to do is, because the properties and the rents are priced out. Also, this is where Wayne State is, so a lot of the Wayne State students, some of them really honestly can't afford Midtown. Everyone's starting to either move to the sides this way or this way. So they're going to 48202, which is New Center. And then this is Grand Boulevard. And what you could do is you could take the Q line, which is really cool. So you could take the Q line, jump on the Q line, and just like, instead of driving, you could actually just ride it all the way up to Grand Boulevard, and this is where it stops. And the New Center area is another area of redevelopment. So you could drive up here. And one of my favorite zip codes is 48206, which is LaSalle Gardens, Boston Edison District. So if you hit Grand Boulevard, you could either go this way here. So this is cool because you have the Motown Museum on Grand Boulevard. You could see the Henry Ford Hospital, but they're building the Cancer Research Institute right here. And the building is like huge. It's like really nice. They should be done with it, I think, this year. But what you could do is you could drive up in this area here and just check out like all the development here. They got Boston Edison, they got LaSalle Gardens, and LaSalle Gardens I think is going to be one of the better areas in the city. Now, what you could do is you could go back to Woodward, again, always going back to using Woodward as a referral point, and then when you're driving up, you might pass, this is really cool, like the Boston Edison. These are like beautiful homes. You could possibly pass through there. But again, if you're going up through Woodward, what you could do is you could hit 8 Mile, and then you could just cut across and come down to Livernois. So Livernois pretty much cuts through 48221. So everybody usually, since they want to go to 48221, I just tell them to drive up Woodward, make a couple stops along the way, and then whether you turn here, go to 48221, wherever, like this is where you could stop here, and then you could drive the streets, and then you could drive Bagley, University District, you could see Fitzgerald, you could see the different, I actually think I have another video coming up shortly, the different building makeup of 48221. So if you're closer to 8 Mile here, these houses here in this area are kind of like frame, maybe some brick bungalows. Usually the square footage is like 900 to 1100 square feet. But once you cross like a street, like this will be like Outer Drive, I'll just put Outer, or like this will be 7 Mile Road. You start to see the houses get bigger. So like once you pass here, the houses are closer to like 1300 square feet. And then once you get further down into like this area in the Bagley district, you'll see like 1,800 square feet houses. They're starting to look like really big now. And you could also, what I would do is like probably park here on Livernois and actually just walk the shops. They just finished the street and they made the sidewalks like pedestrian friendly. They're super wide. So there's shops there's restaurants there, there's Bucharest grills there, there's like, I think there's a chicken waffles place over there, which I haven't gone to yet. But there's restaurants and shops, and just walk it, just get a feel for the city in that area. And then also what I would suggest is on this side here of Livernois, going on these streets like Wildermere and what are some of those streets? I can't remember some of those streets off the top of my head, sorry, but they're like mini castles and all the houses are different. They're just beautiful. It's just gorgeous out there. So 48221, that's where I would go. So you hit up 48201, you hit up 48202 to check it out, 48206. Now, here is where you could make your decision where if you're on the west side, do you want to go further out west? So like I could go to 48235. So that's that's over by Sinai Grace Hospital, Schaefer McNichols. If you're out that way, go to El George's on Schaefer McNichols. That restaurant is the bomb. Or you could go to 48227. You could check out Grandma Rosedale or Rosedale Park. I personally, I'm mostly deal on the east side. I don't go to the west side too much, but I know whenever I'm over there, I'm like pleasantly surprised every time I drive out there. I'm very unfamiliar with it, but I'm getting to know it more. But you could decide to go this side on the west side. But what I would do if you want to stay on the east side, you can either drive all the way down Woodward, or what I would suggest is I would cut across 8 Mile, because I think you should pass by 48234. So on Woodward, this is called the State Fairgrounds, right? So the city bought all this land, and I believe 15 or 20% of it is owned by Magic Johnson's development company. Nothing's happened yet, but this area, I believe, is going to be a pretty good area. And this area isn't really great for rehabs because the ARVs in this area, I don't even think, they're just starting now to top 50. I've seen some for like 62K, but if you're looking for like 100K rehab, you're not going to get it. What you could get here are good rentals. What you could do here is on 8 Mile, you could actually see like the different commercial properties they're developing. There's always there's a ton of dispensaries on 8 Mile, and you could just drive these streets here. Like there's there's Goddard, there's McKay, there's Norwood, and drive up and down the streets. They're more of like your bungalow homes that are 900 square feet, brick bungalows, frame. And again, these rent for like $750 a month, but you're still getting them for, I mean, you could probably pick some of these up for like 25 grand. I know further down here in Griggsdale, this is Griggsdale area. This is, let's say this is Mound. My map is way off. This is really way off. This is like Mound and like 7 Mile Road, like Griggsdale area. Like some of those houses, like I think I sold a 2-bedroom for like 7 grand, like last year. And we got another guy that's trying to sell his 2-bedroom for like 5 grand, but it'll rent for like $600, and you probably could drop like 15 into it, 15, 20. So all in it, you're for like 25, but it'll rent for like $650, $700. But again, when you're driving these areas, remember zip code by zip code, block by block, street by street. You want to be careful where you are, and just make sure that the street is all right, or like even talk to the neighbors. But anyways, so you want to pass down 48234, and then what you could do is you could either take Gratiot down or Groesbeck, or what you could do is drive 48234, come back to Woodward, and then drive down. But you want to eventually, like, you could take 75. I'm like building this map as I go, sorry guys. I-75, which is like a main highway, you could take that all the way down to like the East Jefferson exit. So what happens is East Jefferson is a bloodline that goes all the way to like the suburb area. So this is like cut off right here, and this is like Grosse Pointe. Actually, if you're in Grosse Pointe, you should check out Grosse Pointe Farms. It's crazy because let's say this is Mack Avenue. So you're in 48224. 48224 is East English Village and like Morningside area. Side note, so if you're in East English Village and you're pulling comps, there's a street here called Outer Drive. When you're pulling comps and you're buying in Morningside, oh my god, my handwriting is fucking terrible. Sorry guys. Sorry, cost it too. East English Village. Okay, remember when you're pulling comps, Outer Drive, this side is East English Village, so your comps are going to be much higher. And then Outer Drive is the dividing line, and Morningside is on this side of 48224. So the ARVs aren't as strong, and this area is developing. However, the ARVs in this area, the development is stronger towards Mack. So if you're on Mack, you'll see some of these like Corville, Nottingham, what's another one? Grayton. Like these houses, like a lot of the houses are like really nice down there. But Grosse Pointe Farms is just like a really nice area. I mean, if you cross over Mack, you'll see it's crazy. You're like in Detroit, you cross over Mack, and you're in like these $500,000-$600,000 houses, and it's crazy to see that divide. Like it's like instantaneous. So 48224, I would suggest going there. You could also go to Jefferson Chalmers, which is, where would that be in this map? This would be like 48215. And here's another thing too, another tip. Got tips all the way coming. So, oopsie. 48215. People are talking about Jefferson Chalmers. That's another really, really hot zip code because of its proximity to Grosse Pointe. And there's a lot of activity. I actually have several videos of me walking the streets there, showing the activity there. When you are south of Jefferson, this is where a lot of the activity is happening. However, north of Jefferson, I'm not saying that it's not going to be developed, but there's a lot of land and there's not as many houses. However, I know that there's an apartment, if you're on Jefferson, there's an apartment building like right here that's vacant. They're about to rehab that apartment building. It's like 15, 20 stories tall. It's huge, and they're going to start rehabbing that soon. So that's 48215. I had another thing to talk about with 48224. Oh, this map is going to look ugly, guys. This is I-94. I'm so sorry. So this is also 48224. So if you are looking at deals from 48224, your ARVs in East English and closer to like this area here are going to be higher than this 48224. Yikes. Sorry, 48224. This area is coming up, but it's definitely not as desirable as this area here. But this area is developing. There's actually some good room for good rentals, and the values are climbing up because people are rehabbing here. But again, East English Village is in 48224 is going to be the area where you don't want to be. Actually, I really like Morningside, by the way. You can still buy a lot of good houses there. They're a little bit more beat up because a lot of them have been vacant for so long. But you're mixing in the cash flow with the equity play, but you'll probably buy houses. You'll probably put 3 to 4 times more in the rehab than you will by purchasing the house. So if you're over here, where you could stop too is you could stop by the new. Where would it be in this map? This map is totally messed up. I think it's the new FCA plant. Now this is the talk of the town. And what it is the FC plant. That's Fiat Chrysler Automotive, and they're building a brand new plant. I've shot a couple of videos, and it's on Connor. So I think this is Connor right here. So or is this Connor? I can't remember. Anyways, what you could do is just Google FCA plant, and then you could find the address on Google. But just drive by the plant and just check it out. That's the talk of the town. That's going to be. They're saying that they're going to employ close to 5,000 people in the plant. Matter of fact, there is a $1.8 million home improvement grant that Fiat FCA is going to be giving to the people that are in the close vicinity of the plant. So what they're doing is, I think the maximum it's 15,000, or is it 10,000? I think, or 15,000. I can't remember. For home improvements, for people that own the houses there, this area is just really beat up, like 48214. So what they're doing is they're giving people that actually own the houses there money to fix up their house, to like fix up the streets. Now the thing is because of the plant here, I believe the spillover is going to be here in 48224 and here in 48214. That's where I would focus a lot of my attention. Matter of fact, 48214 is like one of my favorite zip codes. What you could do too is you could pass by Indian Village. So this map is all messed up. I know Indian Village roughly is around here. And then you have the West Village, and then Island View. Island View is in this area, so you could drive around here. Matter of fact, there is a school. So if this is Mac, it's not Connor, it's Mac, I think. Mac, and I believe this is, let's say this street is Seminole Street. I can't spell right now. Seminole Street. There's a school right here that they just rehabbed, and then there's a park called Pingree Park, which is right here. Drive that area. You get to see like what the area looks like. They just rehabbed that school, and I shot a video of it. They gutted the whole thing out. They repaved it. I think it's operational right now. But you could drive those areas, see the park, see the excitement, and there's still a lot of houses there that are just they still need like a lot of tender loving care, and the communities are strong. They're really strong out that way. Indian Village is really cool just because the houses are awesome. Drive down Seminole, Iroquois, all that kind of stuff. Houses are really cool out that way. Matter of fact, that's where you can find some really good rehabs, is over there in 48214 if you could find it. I think that's all I got. I can't think of anything else. I'm trying to think of anything else. I'm looking at my map now, like I'm stepping back and looking at it, and it's just like a hot mess. If you jumped into this video, you jumped ahead and you went from like where I started to where I am now, like this looks like awful. It's like Beautiful Mind, Russell, like Russell Crowe stuff. But anyways, I just wanted to, I hope this helped somehow. But if it did, I am trying, my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by this year. I'm trying to spread the word out there and share the news of what's going on in Detroit. A lot of people, market sentiment on Detroit is still very negative. A lot of people don't even want to touch Detroit. So I think when you're looking at market cycles, I actually think that we're on the disbelief stage of the market cycle where people just don't believe it. Please like the video, subscribe to the video if you like it, share it with other people that are kind of like, you know, they're coming to Detroit and they want to come to Detroit. Check out my other videos as well. And I also, a few people mentioned to me that they, I didn't really want to take donations, but a few people suggested it to me, so I'm adding a donate button to the description below because, you know, I'm driving around the city, I'm taking the videos and stuff like that. I'm trying to like improve my equipment for the channel. So if you want to donate and you like the channel, or if you just want to drop a comment, give me some ideas for the next video, please do. I really appreciate it. And again, this is Emilio with Quick Property Solutions. I'm gonna kick a few things. If you're looking for lenders, hard money lenders that will lend in Detroit, if you're looking for property managers, if you're looking for a rehab crew, if you're looking for boots on the ground, so if you're an out-of-state investor and you have contractors here that you have hired and you kind of want that accountability or transparency, and what most contractors should be doing is like, they should be giving you weekly status photos of like how things are coming along. And if you feel like you hired somebody and you really don't trust them, I have me and a team, we got some people that are driving around taking pictures of houses anyways. So if you want us to stop by and check out your house, let us know. We could be your boots on the ground and talk to us about that service. And that's pretty much it. Again, this is Emilio with Quick Property Solutions, and wish you well.